So let's look at all of the people that thus far have completed the self-assessment. We have input from almost 7,500 users around the world. And the whole entire model, the overall proficiency score for those folks is 51.4%. And to give you a sense of who has responded, completed that self-assessment, kind of you see the breakdown here. About 15% are talent development managers, 15% are trainers, 10% are instructional designers. I mean, this sort of looks a bit like ATD membership. Individual contributor, I think people may have put themselves in the trainer bucket. Instead, it's sort of pulling from your ATD profile. So a wide range of people have completed that self-assessment. So again, almost 7,500 people, about 51% overall proficiency. And here we take a look at proficiency by domain. And I don't think any of this is surprising. I think most talent development professionals, particularly if they're in a training role or hopefully a management role, are going to have solid communication skills, hopefully have some awareness of emotional intelligence and decision making, that collaboration and teamwork, lifelong learning, those kinds of things are core to a lot of the work that you do. So no surprise that that is the highest rated capability area. And there are also skills that we have to have for being human beings. So no surprise. Then if you go to the other end of the spectrum, the impacting organizational capabilities, this is sort of the new, more expanded areas of talent development. And so not surprising that people globally have perhaps lower proficiency in some of these skill areas. Those core talent development things, 57%, right about that midway mark. So now we can take a look at respondents from Northeast Florida. There were 15 people who completed the whole thing. And so it's not a huge number, but just gives you some sense of where users from the chapter are coming from. And so the overall proficiency score for the chapter is 56.9%. And you'll see, again, sort of same slope across the domains, the highest being personal capability. That professional capability area being slightly above that 50%, 49%. And then again, organizational capabilities being the lowest, but sort of slightly higher than we see on a global level. So just kind of interesting, but similar to what we see across the globe. Then if we look at the top 5 capabilities globally, these are color-coded by domain. So you'll see lifelong learning is at the top of the list. It's been at the top of the list really since we launched the self-assessment and I first started peeking at the results. And no surprise there, of course, that belief in lifelong learning and applying past learning to current or future situations, all of that is central to what talent development professionals do. Training, delivery, and facilitation, next largest. Not surprising that people in talent development would be proficient in this particular area. Again, as we discussed, communication, EI and decision making, and project management always coming at the top. These have largely been the same since we launched the model. There's been a little jockeying for position within the top 5, but not too much else has crept in to the top 5 since launch. But if we take a look at Northeast Florida, we actually see that collaboration and leadership bumps out project management in terms of that top 5. So those respondents from the chapter excelling in that particular capability area, which again being green, comes from that personal capability domain. So to me, no major surprises there, and it's actually one of the first times I've seen something different pop in for a chapter than the same global top 5. So that's nice to see. So now if we take a look at the bottom 5, here we see, again, if you look just from a color-coded perspective, you see 4 of these 5 are in the organizational capability domain. Let's first take a look at career and leadership development. That's a little surprising to me, because to me that's sort of part of what the core of talent development is. But there may be people who are solely focused on instructional design or on training delivery and don't delve into some of the other aspects, but certainly useful for people to at least have a frame of reference for the knowledge and skill set that can be used to help others develop in their career or develop their leadership skills. Next down, talent strategy and management. I chalk this one up to the expanded scope of this particular capability area, the addition of some of that workforce planning kinds of things, rather than just sticking with solely managing the learning function and getting learning solutions out to employees. So expanded scope here, so not too much of a surprise that there are still some knowledge and skills where people can improve here. Technology application, I think here is the same situation, much expanded category. I think there's 14 or 16 knowledge and skill statements in this capability area. In the previous competency model, there were only 4 statements. Also, there are statements that perhaps are a little techy, getting around UX and those kinds of things, the use of artificial intelligence, virtual reality, those kinds of things, which of course are really going to depend on the scope of your organization and probably the size of your budget. So again, not a huge surprise, but certainly room for improvement there. Change management. This one really boggled my mind. But when we think about the fact that 70% of change management initiatives fail, largely because perhaps of leadership support, but certainly an area where we can all expand our skill set. And I think after the past year, where it seems like change was abundant, yet it seemed like March was forever. So no change there. But there was lots of other changes and new situations we all had to adapt to. I think we all can work on improving our change management skills. And also, I think it's important to think about those work-related things that kind of stress us out. And that all depends on our own skill set and our own workflow. But of course, expanding your knowledge and skill set in an area that stresses you out can be helpful, because it gives you some tools to better cope with that situation. And so I think with change management, we all could probably use some improvement in change management skills so we aren't so stressed about all of the changes that are happening around us. And then last but not least, data and analytics. This has been at the bottom of the list since we launched the assessment tool. There certainly are people who have the luxury of whole departments that can help them with data and analytics. I know here at ATD, we have a crackerjack analytics team that can help us. So again, people may have whole groups of people they can rely on to help them with these kinds of things, but important for people to understand the data that goes into them and the data that leadership and other units want out of what we're collecting, so that we can be better partners in that process. So that's globally. And if we take a quick look at Northeast Florida, we do see a couple of different things introduced. This is always the fun part for me when I'm creating this data, is to see what different chapters look like. So here we have performance improvement has come in. So that's you may just not have chapter members that are particularly closely involved in this area. Organization development and culture, this is largely a new content area for the competency model. So again, not surprising that people may have room for improvement there. Knowledge management, as I said earlier, not a super sexy or popular topic, but I think will have increasing importance as we perhaps are not all together in the same place all the time, and we need to share and access information across an organization. Technology application, and then last, of course, but not least, data and analytics. So this sort of just gives you a snapshot about some of the things for these particular respondents. This is data I can pull for the chapter at any time they want it. And Rob, if you and the rest of the chapter would like the performance scores for all of the capabilities. I can shoot those to you easily. And then maybe a year from now, you can ask people to update their self-assessments and take another look. So again, just an opportunity to use the self-assessment and these scores to be reflective about where your current skill set lies, and then making some intentional choices about what you want to work on. And then again, hopefully creating a plan that you can work, create a plan and work the plan to help you move the needle and close those gaps. There are also, again, some other ways that you can use the model, not just for you individually, but for a team. As I mentioned, using the self-assessment across a team. There's some low-tech ways for doing that before we launch the enterprise tool, but really getting a sense of, where does the skill set of your team lie. You may have some hidden talents that you're not aware of, but again, also identifying where gaps are. I'm actually working with one enterprise client who is involved with some mergers and things, and they're using the capability model to kind of assess everyone that's coming into the team, and then using that data to organize the new team so that they better distribute those knowledge and skill sets across the group. So you can use the data, again, to create an individual learning plan, but also to create a learning plan for your team. That's a great way to get buy-in for everyone to really pursue that together, in addition to personal pursuit of skill gaps. You can use the capability model if you're in the position to be able to recruit or fill job roles, using it to create job descriptions. Again, mapping your current team's skill set against your sort of ideal talent development function, seeing where your holes are, who's ready to be upskilled, et cetera. And then certainly last but not least, using team pursuit of certification to give your team a common baseline of knowledge and language from which to operate. We, at the Credentialing Institute, every year during ATD's awards season, we issue an award to an employer. It's our Certification Champion Award that goes to the employer who has supported the largest number of people through the certification process. And we have two really great case studies of organizations that have used certification, again, to create that cohesion among their team. They've had some people pursue APTD and some pursue CPTD, great opportunities for peer learning, as well as, of course, individual advancement, peer-to-peer learning. So great opportunity for that. And of course, certification is rooted in the capability model. So that's kind of hopefully a great overview and introduction for you, and hopefully some good action points for either you or your team to kind of really take the opportunity to own your career, if you will. We've really hoped to create some tools that really can give you a blueprint for how you can really unleash your potential and make a bigger impact within your organization. So I will be quiet for a few minutes and see if we have any further questions. Yes, we're with regards to the benchmarking data, Karen, yes, I'm sure happy to share that benchmarking data. I'm trying to work on writing an article for the website that kind of shares some of that benchmarking, and hopefully being able to provide that more publicly as a touchstone for people, so that there is some calibration and like, okay, it's not as if I'm completely, am I in the right profession? I worked with a profession where people used to call me after not being successful on their certification exam, questioning whether they were in the wrong profession when perhaps they just needed to study a little more. So we certainly don't want to create any existential crisis, but I'm happy to have people really spend some time taking a look and benchmarking their knowledge and skill set. So Rob, I'm not seeing too many other questions, so I will stop sharing my screen and I will send it back to you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Morgan. That was a great overview and very helpful. and certainly ties so well to where we're looking to head in 2021. And just have to pause and say, I can't believe I just said we're in 2021. But that's a different story. So where we're planning on heading as a chapter is that throughout this year, we're going to really concentrate and focus on the various and specific capabilities within the model. And one bucket of those will be a regular professional development workshop. At this point, the plan is for the fourth Thursday in the month. So the next one will be in February, the fourth Thursday of the month. And we're working on what that schedule is going to look like, who are the speakers going to be, and what are the topics, hoping to get most of that nailed down by the end of this month is the hope. And our plan is to rotate through each of those domains of practice as we go through personal, professional, organizational, but get into the specific capability areas and, look to accomplish what we can within, 60 to 90 minutes and get as far into it as we can. So certainly any thoughts, any ideas, any requests, I will go ahead and put my ATD email up there if anyone wants to send me any thoughts, any comments, any ideas. That will be great. Our plan is that for at least the professional development side, that we will continue to do those virtually. As an overall chapter, we are hoping sometime within the next few months to get back and be able to be in a room together and somehow appropriately break bread and have some of the similar events as we've had in the past. So that's where we're planning on heading and continue to dive in. And so I guess I would leave you with one last ask, and that's really to take the time to go in and complete the assessment, complete those 188 items. Take the time, the 45 minutes to maybe an hour, or even if you do it and you break it up over time, however you do that you take that first step and complete the assessment. But even more than that you go that next step and start adding some items to your learning plan and start working on those items and figuring out a way that those different boxes that you check, or if you're going to go after one of the certifications or whatever that looks like, that you start making progress against those. So for me, that'll be a positive outcome of this particular webinar. When I call Morgan and I ask for an update, and we've jumped from 15-ish to, gosh, we should be able to at least get to 30. And if some of you can share with people that maybe we can take an even higher jump than that. So that's kind of my hope. Stay tuned, and we'll continue to communicate about the next session and those following sessions between February and October. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And with that, we're going to give you back 14 minutes of your day. Enjoy it. Maybe spend it quietly. Thanks again, Morgan, for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
Thank you, Morgan.